civility and stuff like that. If there are any comments on the agenda items, you have 3 minutes or less. Judy?
I gave you a break last week.
Okay. I wanted to make a comment, Dom. I'm not sure exactly which part of the agenda pertains to this, but I know you are going to be discussing the Habitat for Humanity property. I would just like to ask the board to consider, before they decide to make a move in terms of spending money on the properties for consultants or anything else, that you go through the motions of trying to ascertain whether you can even put a septic system that would support 2 houses there. I mean, soil testing is not free, but it's a heck of a lot less than the rest of it. So, and if there are any other things you need to look at, it will require pretty serious changes of the zoning. So I'd just like to ask that you all consider that before we spend a lot of money on it.
There was actually, they've been doing soil testing already, so some of that stuff has been.
They did the sewer?
Keep you posted.
Okay, they did the sort of, okay. And who paid for it?
They did?
No, you said there was soil testing already, so
They
the
did
town,
soil- They did, oh, you mean, I'm sorry, Habitat did the soil.
Habitat for Humanity did?
Say that again?
Habitat for Humanity
Yeah.
tested? On property they didn't own? Okay, okay. All right, that's another whole question, but I'll let it go somewhere else.
Charlie?
Do you want me to make a comment about the Mechanic Street property now, or when you guys make a discussion, I can answer questions then?
It may make sense to do it
Okay.
now. Okay, anyone else have anything on the agenda? Discuss anything that's on the agenda?
Hi there. I'm Nancy McKenzie, and I've been here for 10 years, and I just wanted to make a couple of comments on recent events.
Excuse me, Nancy, could you state your address? It's usually protocol. Nancy McKenzie from,
Amenia.
okay, no, usually people state their address when they come up to the podium.
You need the microphone near you.
What's the issue?
Just he wants you to say your address.
60 Sheffield Road,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Amenia. Okay. Recently, there was an altercation,
Not on the
and
agenda,
I wanted
Nancy.
to thank the board for handling it really well.
Okay, it's not on the agenda, Nancy, we don't want to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
just stuff that's on the
I guess I
agenda.
didn't understand. Okay.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, final call. All right, then we'll move on to the supervisor's report. There's been some progress on the highway garage. The Megan's Highway crew has just completed site clearance, which is great. I mean, it's really nice to be able to see the whole site, and they made a temporary entry from Route 22 and a driveway down to where the garage will be. And they cleared trees and pulled stumps, and it was speedy and well done. And now we're ready for the next step, which is site preparation, which is all the grading and the roads and the cement and everything. The bids were received and opened Wednesday. There were 11 total, which is kind of exciting for us. And it looks like the low bid, which was recommended by the engineers, is significantly lower than what was budgeted, so that's good news. The Water District, I believe the bills went out yesterday. Notice of 2026 rates are going out soon. That's mostly determination by the Water District Board. And also an engineer from Delaware met with DEC on site this week and got clearance for locating the pump station in a floodplain, because it was in a floodplain and this will be elevated, so it's somewhat better for the floodplain. Channel 2, I thought that we have received a missing piece of equipment to do Channel 22, but it had to be programmed. So presumably at the next meeting, we'll actually be live on Channel 22. Housing. We met with Habitat for Humanity this week to clarify the requirements for the house on Depot Hill, and they had been doing a lot of thinking about it, and they've been working with Ian and John Andrews, the engineer, to discuss that. Personnel, we have posted job openings for a new planning and zoning clerk, a dog officer, and a building inspector, and presumably gotten some resumes in? Okay. Let's see. Parking and mechanic, after many emails, it appears that we have everything we need to deal with the parking situation for the Harvest Festival, but more importantly, maybe not more importantly, but I've also almost finished compiling a list of signs that we would need for Megan's crew to install on mechanic for general parking, since that's obviously been an issue for a long time. So hopefully that will get done next week. Not the signs, but the list and the discussion next week. Another bit of good news, the electric vehicle charging stations have been installed at the rail trail now using a CAC grant. Unfortunately, the federal government rolled back the credit for electric vehicles, so it's sort of ironic moment to be doing that, but still they're there. And are those usable yet, Charlie?
No.
No, they're not usable yet, but we'll let you know when they are. And Dutchess County also striped the parking lines and the handicap space and everything. The Harvest Festival will be on Saturday, October 18th. It seems to be charging ahead, so put that in your calendars. The 2026 budget, Charlie Miller put together our tentative budget, which will be discussed by the board at two special open meetings next week, 6 p.m. on Monday and 6 p.m. on Tuesday in this room, and those meetings will also be televised. And the last thing is that the governor announced a statewide ban on outdoor burning due to the very dry condition after weeks without rain. It's particularly severe in the northern part of the state, but it's a statewide ban, and it's not so great here either. So I'm declaring a townwide fire ban for Amenia starting now, and it'll run until October 15th. Okay, that's all I got. Dawn.
Okay, so good evening. The September 18th minutes were circulated prior. You guys ready to move on those?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept those minutes.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Rosanna. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Also, let the record reflect that the town clerk did receive the tentative 2026 budget and has been circulated to the town board members. Also, I am in receipt of multiple applications for the part-time clerk application that was open, as well as the dog control officer. The only applications I did not receive with any interest was the building inspector. And I don't know, just want to put that on your next, not your next meeting, but our next regular
The
schedule.
16th.
If you guys want to start,
We wanna do
we can start
interviews.
interviewing that night.
When does the one for the building inspector expire?
They both expired yesterday.
But the
So
building
now-
inspector was only posted in the newspaper, it wasn't posted on.
Consecutive weeks.
So do we want to make a motion to post again and include it on Indeed?
Oh, absolutely, I already told Dawn to do that, because I didn't realize that it wasn't on.
So I'll
Making
make the
that
motion,
motion?
yes.
Yes, thank you.
I'll second. Thank you, Rosanna. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We have somebody covering for the dog? or for the
Yes.
dog?
We do, yes.
Yes,
We
we
have
actually have one,
the
more than
gentleman,
one.
we have the gentleman that actually is where our shelter is, where we have a contract with. So he's the one that's filling in right now. if we have any problems. And then the last thing is, as much as we don't want to talk about it, but winter is right around the corner. So I also need authorization to go ahead and advertise for snow removal. Yeah, start that process.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So at this time, it's the same ad as last year, unless you guys have any changes.
Sidewalk to Beekman.
So we're going to extend the sidewalk to Beekman, will be done.
Oh, to be included, right, because that should
Oh,
be
yeah, that's a
finished.
good
For
point.
you guys to discuss it, I don't know if you want to or not.
I guess that would be the only ad.
Because it just, I think it just says on what side of the road, it doesn't say the distance. So
Okay.
it should be
Okay.
already. Other than that, that concludes the town clerk's report.
Okay, then we'll move into discussion.
I just wanted to add one item with regards to the EV charging stations. One of the requirements that we do have to do is a local law for the enforcement, the parking. So if the board wants, I can start working on that.
Yeah, although I think we should discuss that. That means hiring the Dutchess County sheriffs to stop by.
It just means inputting into your code a local law to allow you to enforce the parking. Traditionally, these are done where you're allowed to park there while charging. But if you're there and you're no longer charging, or you're fully charged, then you're occupying space that needs to be
Vacant.
Yeah, so that's usually how it works. It's not very overly complicated. We just need to put it into our code so we can have it enforced.
And not just there, but other places where we want
Well,
parking
it would be for
enforced?
EV charging stations, yeah. It would be for EV charging stations generally, and we can create a schedule as to where each are if necessary. But I think if you just do it for EV charging stations, I gotta think about how I'll put it together.
But we don't have anything in the code to enforce parking stuff elsewhere in town?
I think you do, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's just to extend it to EV spaces.
Well, it needs to be specifically for the EV charging, because it's different than just parking. There's different
Right.
requirements, so.
Okay. I'll make
So
that
if the
motion.
board is,
Yeah, go.
Yeah, okay.
Yes,
no, I just need the board to tell me to proceed, that's all.
sounds like we have to do it.
Okay. Megan, we're going to have Megan produce, we're discussing accepting additional equipment bids for the highway department, or the ones that didn't get approved last time.
Okay, yeah, so I was here last board meeting, and we accepted the highway material bids, minus a few things. So we left out we excluded the excavator, paver, vacuum truck, and sweeper. It's my understanding that the board has received a letter from Paul Voorhees disclosing his interest in the contract. I myself have received a letter from Paul. And I'm here asking the remaining of the bids to be approved by the town board.
Any discussion?
No, I think we're
Okay,
good.
I'll make that motion then.
Second?
Okay, thank you. Can I just bring up one more thing quick about the
Oh, I was
trees
gonna
on the
mention that.
property?
Yes.
Okay.
Why don't you tell us about the log?
Yeah, like you said,
issue.
we've been on the property. It took us about 10 days to take down the trees. So we have logs. We cut everything in log lengths, and it's in piles, so we need to get rid of it. I've talked to 3 loggers that have gotten back to me, and they will take it for free. The only way they pay you is if they come in and they log what they want for wood, and they basically said all that wood is firewood. So they're willing to come in and take it out, and we really need to get it out as soon as possible before we start getting rain, because we're a little limited on in and out. So I recommend we let the loggers come in. I'll make sure they got insurance and get it in out, and we're done.
Did they give you an idea of how soon they can start?
One's gonna get back to me tomorrow, another one said possibly Tuesday, and then we got rain Wednesday, so in
Yeah,
the
so
next
that's why-
good day, they figure
yeah.
about a day and a half.
So you just have to choose one of the 3, in other words.
Whoever's they wanna come in and
Okay.
get it out.
Okay.
Okay.
That is exceptional work. Free is good.
Yes, well, yeah, at
Um,
this point, it's
Well,
it's
I
good.
move that we allow the highway superintendent to to select a logger to come in and remove the trees that were cut down on the highway garage site.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. I think you're on.
Building security, well, Bradley, are you going to get any estimates on?
Well, yeah, I had a question, first of all. There is a camera on the door that goes into the gym from the outside. Is that just there, not functional, or it doesn't tie into anything? Just curious.
It's
It's
functional.
functional. Yes, it's functional.
And where does it tie into? Is it tied to an existing system? Is it the only one?
Ian will
It-
answer that.
Hold on, it's a little delicate when you start talking about the security and your cameras and where they are and how they're functioning as a security issue. It might be something we want to move to an executive session so we can
have
discuss it.
something in general already.
Correct, but
We have security cameras.
detailing how your security works to the public is not, it's a safety issue.
Okay,
I
no, I
would
can appreciate that.
remove that to an executive session so we can, if there are specific questions about the specifics, mechanics of how that's operating, I think that should be discussed in an executive session.
Okay.
So can we talk about the equipment then that we want to move forward with?
Well, we talked already about the keys and the push bar on the front doors, and making sure the other doors all have a lock, that when you close them, they automatically lock, so that none of the doors get closed. We already talked about that. I did speak with some of the employees, and most of them were, thought that we should have walkie-talkies. There was only one exception that I actually spoke with who did not.
Was that me?
No,
Oh, okay.
I just figured you're gonna disagree. I mean, that's another thought. Brad, you were gonna look into having fob keys.
No, I looked into a camera system and I looked into a maintenance charge. I have the Blink camera system on my office building and in my home. And I don't have the maintenance program, but I maintain it on my phone. But, getting 4 cameras in the system, the 4 cameras would be $300. The security system's $100 a year to maintenance. So that's one thing I looked in, and then it goes from there up. If we purchase, across-board or over-the-counter cameras ourselves and just use them, because the systems are very useful, and they do record, and you can get timestamps, etc. I didn't look into key fobs, but you and I had a discussion about what the high school was doing, because we have the same exact entry, one entry, with an outer door and an inner door. So the question is, do we have something as simple as buzzing somebody in? Do we have something as simple as getting rid of the keys and having an electronic lock that can easily be given and changed easily to codes? These are very inexpensive items, but last time we had this meeting, you had something else. I think you had gotten some quotes, which I think we should compare to.
With just the keys. I think having a system where we use fobs it is actually expensive to have somebody be able to buzz somebody in, number one, and there has to be somebody at the desk to do that. I don't know if we always have somebody that can do that, who could do that. So I think it's probably pretty expensive to go that way. It was about $10,000 to do, just to change the locks and the keys and do the push bar, if I remember correctly. So I guess we have to decide whether or not we want to go any further than that.
So, Rosanna, it sounds like you already have a proposal for those things?
I said,
We saw it 2 meetings ago.
Oh, okay. Well,
do we
would
want to
need-
go in that direction? Is that what we want to do?
I think that the keys and the push bars and the self-locking exterior doors are all sort of a minimal security system. It's just sort of beefing up what we have, and it should have probably been done quite a while ago to fix that. So I'm certainly interested in going ahead with that. But I think I'd just like to, if you could just resend that, I'd like to see it again.
It was for 7 doors, right? Is that what we determined? But this is not going to address the doors for the staircases going upstairs. That was, I think, the only thing that
Oh,
wasn't going
okay.
to be addressed. This is all for exterior doors.
To be able to further elaborate, I'd have to take the advice of counsel and discuss it further in executive sessions. I think the answers to which are, to the questions that want to be asked are just have to wait until executive session.
Okay, we can do that.
And then maybe for the next meeting, we can have it where it's written down the exact dollar amounts to which we want to approve.
For
'Cause,
what
like,
we're doing.
the push bar, she has already had all the prices and
Yeah.
she circulated it. So
Mhm.
I don't, if it's not in front of you and you're not ready to take action tonight, maybe we can work together and put it on one piece of paper so you guys can see them.
So my one question is, though, do we need a resolution for that, or can we just make a motion?
What, purchase
When-
equipment?
for
You should have a
changing-
resolution to purchase the equipment.
Okay, then we will aim for that at the next session. The media policy for the town website and the LED signboard. Brad, do you want to talk about that?
Certainly. So we've discussed this a few times. I know that it's been sent to Nicole, Rosanna, and Ian. The comments I had, it looks good, let's go forward, but I think you had some questions.
I did have a few questions. Oh, well, one of the things was, I'm sorry, I'm starting on the second page. Just that. One question was, do we need to specifically mention Channel 22 and YouTube since our meetings go out on Channel 22 and YouTube, or since they're recording what happens in the room, is that less of an issue?
It could be added. It's not really, I think having a policy itself covers, people's actions and what they do and what they're not supposed to do in general. It's obvious it's on the sign. It's obvious it's on Channel 22, and the same policy would be there.
Right. Let me see what else. The social media integration authorized accounts. You said only designated personnel may post on official social media channels, but is that just the website and the sign? I think it would be clearer if we just said that it meant the website and the sign, as opposed to just being general.
Yeah, that would be easy enough to change.
Let's see. Public interaction comments are welcome but may be moderated. And we had talked about trying to use the website. Obviously, the sign is not the same thing, but the website to not have a back and forth.
Correct.
So,
I don't think we have that in the back. We don't have that anyway. It doesn't exist.
no, I know that, but I mean, it suggests that, it says comments are welcome but may be
Right.
moderated. So I think we should take that out since we have a way for.
That can be taken out.
Okay. And the last thing is feedback channels. Residents may submit suggestions versus contact forms, email, or designated portals. I'll ask Charlie, since he did so much work on it. The website, Charlie, is there a way to is there a way for people to register complaints directly?
There is a page for people to submit comments, which is ultimately just emails that direct themselves to the town clerk, to the building department, and to the water department. So when they click on it, it just pulls up an email that they fill out, and that gets sent to those groups.
Okay, and the designated portal obviously then would be the website, so that's easy. Visual standards for the sign. I thought it said free of distracting graphics or animations, but I think it should just be free of graphics or animations, and it's just that it's white letters on a dark sign like a church.
Do
on a
we even have that capability? Graphics or
Oh, yeah, they all
the
just,
sign does have that capability?
yeah, but we had sort of spoken to the planning board, or we had sort of suggested to the planning board that we were not gonna have it moved. Because there is a rule in the zoning code that you're not supposed to have moving images and all that stuff, but I just wanted to make sure that was,
It was also part of the Monroe analysis on how we're trying to
Oh, right.
conform that as tightly as we could into the current zoning code.
But I think it's important also just to, clarify that we're talking about white text on a dark ground or a black ground. And prohibited content, personal opinions not approved by the town board. So that was, I guess that was, I wanted to sort of understand, I wanted an example of that. I assumed an example of that
Could
was
you
what I
give it-
posted.
Could you give it to me in context?
Oh, I'm sorry. Prohibited content. Political endorsements or campaign materials, obviously, commercial advertising, obviously, offensive, discriminatory or defamatory language, obviously, personal opinion's not approved by the town board. I'm just trying to think of an example where that could happen.
So an example is if someone wanted to post something on the website or post it on the sign without first discussing it with the board, that would not be good.
Well,
I don't think they're capable, I don't think they have the capability to do that. I don't think anybody can post on it.
It has happened.
On the website, on the new website, how many people have access to the new website?
5, 6. One of them isn't the supervisor, you'll be happy to know. But the thing that actually I posted on the website was not a personal opinion. It was a pamphlet on personal rights. So I'm not really, that's why I wanted to ask you
No,
that
but none of
question.
us know about it beforehand.
I think the wording of it needs to be that
Yeah,
it needs to go through the whole board before being posted on behalf of the town board.
Okay.
yeah, because it looks like a representation of the whole entire board.
Well, that's why I said we need to just clarify the language, because I don't
Right,
think it says
I
that.
think just, yeah.
I mean, because obviously, everything that's gonna go on the website goes on the website, and we don't have to like deal with the town board every time we post something. So I think we need to be specific about what that means,
Mhm.
okay? And I think that was all I had on that. Okay? Do you wanna, rewrite that, or Ian, does that need to be a resolution, or do you have other things?
Well, we should do it by a resolution, but, you know, to the point of, I'm just thinking on this personal opinions aspect, it might be easier to establish what is acceptable, so there's a baseline of what is acceptable, what we anticipate will be posted on these avenues, and then leave a section in there of things that might, you know, examples of things that may have to be approved by the town board. This way we have a baseline, this way it's not every single time we're going to the town board to say, hey, can I put, you know, a pancake breakfast on the sideboard? You know what I mean?
That's part, I mean, again, I think, I ran into this in my first attempt to do this, which I quit because it just got too complicated. So, once again, in context there's a gatekeeper. So, and in the rules, you know, someone has to be authorized to put something up. So are we asking now who is authorized? Not who is authorized, but are we going to define the process of authorization?
I think we're trying to figure out what it is that you think needs to be reviewed by the whole board. But Ian was saying,
Yeah, I'm
what-
thinking we can get a baseline. If we're gonna designate gatekeepers or whomever for particular positions, then that needs to be addressed too. And that, I think, should be clarified what that position would look like. We should establish some level of baseline understanding of what we anticipate on this sign, because
You want
you don't
examples?
defeat the use of the sign if we have to wait every single time for a
Right.
board. Like if there's an emergency, a
Right.
road closing, water break, whatever it may be,
Right.
something that comes up, that,
So
like, these
I'll-
are types of things that would go up
I'll
on.
consult with Don because we already have the process going, you know, what's going up there. Now, Don and I will consult with each other on that.
Okay.
yeah, and actually your office was listed as gatekeepers in the earlier version of that, so we just need to make sure that that's made clear. The other thing I would say is that, I don't do this, but Chris Cannon in Northeast does a monthly thing that he sends out to everyone, and it's about the town. You might consider it personal
Yeah,
opinion.
no, I get it because I have an office there.
So I don't know
It's
whether you
great,
consider
by the
that,
way. It's
well, I don't know
really
whether you
good, yeah.
consider that personal opinion, because obviously he's talking.
It hasn't really been, but it's very informative, and I'd love to see the town doing something like that as well. We've talked about that.
Mhm.
So, no, he's doing a fantastic job with it, yeah.
But you don't think that's
What's
personal
the
opinion?
what's the context of it?
He sends out a monthly,
Is it like a
email
supervisor's
blast.
report?
More or less.
It involves a variety of things, but it's mostly that.
Calendar events, you know, what's happening with the water department, and just basic information.
Anyway, just wanted to bring that up, because that obviously is something that we have in a neighboring town.
So we would just put on the information, you know, town information,
Mhm.
would be part of baseline.
Again, Dawn and I are gonna discuss that, because we already have
If
it.
you
in
need
our-
help fine tuning it, I can help if you.
Yeah, you know, you have the draft, so anything, if you wanna redline
Sure.
it, can you redline that for me? That would be really helpful,
Sure.
because I'm sure you're gonna think of something else.
Okay,
Sounds
great.
good.
All right. The next items are the proposed local laws. We'll start with Chapter 24, which is the Planning Board. I sent a ridiculous amount of stuff to people, but I think the gist of it was just that that the Planning Board should have, the Planning Board should have alternates that are, that sit at the table with the board but don't vote unless they need to vote, and they need to vote, yes.
So maybe I might be able to help this conversation.
Okay.
This law, when we originally drafted it, was trying to create a situation where we could appoint alternates as needed because of just multiple vacancies and issues at the time. Based on the comments that I'm seeing, it sounds like, and what, as these conversations have gone on, and the board has sent me some comments, but it sounds to me like what you guys are more interested in now is having, it sounds like 2 alternates per board. So if we can agree on that, then that helps a lot in drafting this type of law, all right? So we want 2 alternates. What terms do you want for the alternates?
Well, I think on the zoning board already, it's
It's
the same
1
as the
year.
I think it's the same as the members. I think
It's
it's
1
fine.
year, right?
No, it's 1 year.
It's 1 year.
It's only 1 year.
I don't think it's more than 1 year. Why, we have a hard enough time getting people. Why are we having?
Because we want them to be able to talk about what they've heard. Projects tend to go on more than 1 year.
So remember, that when you have a term is for 1 year. It doesn't mean you serve for 1 year and you can never serve it again.
Right, you just have to
can-
reappoint. It just
Yeah,
gives
you
you
just
that,
get reappointed.
it gives you the availability to
To
do that if
reappoint.
they're not,
It
right.
doesn't mean one and done. It's 1 year and then,
Well, 1 year is fine, but do we have a limit on the number of years? if
No.
It's gonna be done.
there
No.
isn't.
I don't know, I mean, I think that's sort of problematic,
So
because the
right
people
now.
who are full members
Right
have
now,
terms.
we have an alternate. We have been using alternates on the ZBA, whether we had a law or not, they've been there. We've had.
Well, the ZBA you have.
One of them is now a permanent member, one of them is still an alternate, and we have an opening for an alternate. I don't recall those being alternates having a limit of 1 year, because we haven't had them come through again.
They don't. They're appointed. And even if you serve for a term, I'm pretty sure there's no limit on the number of terms either. You can just be reappointed for another term. So, if
So can we keep it the same then? for the-
and I think by keeping it similar to what the ZBA currently has,
Mhm,
it will massage a lot of the concerns that were being expressed in a lot of the comments.
mhm.
Okay, but one of the points of having alternates is that the people who are alternates know the projects that have been discussed, so
So-
that they can step in at any point. If they're only there for 1 year, if we're talking about something big, like Silo, for instance, that went on for decades, or maybe not, but probably. If someone is there for, is only there for a year, that means that the new person would have no knowledge of what's been discussed up to that point.
So that goes to the next question of, that needs to be answered, in my opinion, by the board. Is, right now, alternates under town law are used only when there's a conflict of interest. Currently, we have them for conflict of interest and just a general absence. Sometimes they have them for emergencies, illness, other reasons. And the question is, how do you want alternates to be used? So you're gonna have your board, 5 or 7 members, and you're gonna have 2 alternates on both those boards. When are they gonna be appointed and how? Is it just for a conflict, or is it for some other reasons? If it's for some other reasons, this board needs to determine what that is. Once we determine what that is, whoever the alternates are appointed and are there, they will have all rights if they're appointed. So if somebody's out, they move in, they have all rights as every other board member, which would include voting rights, quorum requirements. They would also have all the training requirements, any education requirements they have, attendance requirements. It's as if they're a board member. So, because the idea is to keep your alternates included throughout the process so they can step in at any time. And if that's the case, then you have to enforce the attendance and training requirements, which has traditionally not been done by this board, which not this board, but boards past. So there's been issues with the training and attendance requirements, which is why we're having quorum problems, which is why we're trying to fix the law here.
Yeah, I mean,
So
we've
we're
had
gonna
a,
have to enforce those when that comes in.
So I think that they should be allowed, not to vote, obviously, but I think they should be able to question and participate in the regular meetings to keep them involved, right? I think they should get all the materials that get sent to the regular board members so that they can stay up to par on all of the issues. I think that they should take the training and be required to take the training. All that should be set up front when we interview. So that's my thought. I think that's the only way to get people that will be able to step in and make a good decision.
I agree, but I do think that the attendance has been a really big problem for a long time. And I think that we need the alternates to be able to fill in when they can't get a quorum. The question is, are we filling in also if there are less than 7 people present, or is it just if there are 3 people present?
So, again, how and when they step in is something that this board would have to determine. Whether they want to, if there's just an absence. Because look, attendance has been a problem for board members on projects, and that causes delays. And if that's the problem, then having alternates who can jump in at any time, and, you know, everybody should be subject to the same attendance requirements, and if they're not, then maybe they shouldn't be on those boards.
I was
They
just gonna
can't.
say, I'm not sure about having them fill in to fill absences or forms, because then why are they on the board?
Well, that was what I'd said originally.
Originally, right.
But I mean, what happened most recently, well, not, I mean, earlier in the year, is that there was an issue where they weren't able to get a quorum for 3 meetings in a row. And so the applicant had had to pay for their consultants to be there. It wasn't announced in advance, people just didn't show up the day of. So, I mean, the board.
But that's a problem within that board. We're not making Band-Aids for that. That's why I think they should only be used for conflict of interest.
Well, I understand that, but if there's not a quorum, it means that and there's not any warning of that, the applicants are kind of stuck, and we actually ended up paying some of the fees for the applicant to the
I
planning.
know. They didn't have a quorum for 3 meetings in a row, and how many are they allowed to miss in a row? It's 3, isn't it?
I think it is.
Yeah,
3.
so I think we need to look at that.
Again, I mean, if you're not forcing the attendance requirements in the first place, which
Right.
is creating the problem, anything I write won't work.
Exactly.
So the problem is, though, we can't appoint somebody like on a dime. So we have to have people in place, and you have to have those people make the commitment. And I think the only way that they're gonna make the commitment is if they feel really involved. And so, right now, on the ZBA, I think the alternate steps in anytime there's an absence.
And
It is in the code, it states that.
I'm sorry, the
In
code.
your current code for the ZBA, it states that. So,
I think we should do that.
and
then-
I spoke to the planning board attorney in depth on this, and, we jousted a little back and forth on, pros, cons, and things that could happen or not happen, but, there are a number of towns that do it that way, where they have 2 alternates. They're present, they're subject to all the other requirements, but they are present for every meeting. And they don't vote unless somebody's not there, whether it be an absence for any reason. But what it does is it allows for very few opportunities where you're not gonna have a quorum. So it will allow business to move, and if people are actually attending, they're informed. And then you can actually have, an informed decision and vote on what's happening. As
Nicole,
opposed to somebody just stepping in and saying, I don't know,
I started off feeling exactly the way you
yeah,
did.
I know.
How did that happen, Nicole? We should have discussed this. But I know that there's been this problem that's been ongoing, And as far as I know, any efforts that have been made to improve the attendance, Judy is like out of her mind with the members not showing up, with the members not letting her know they're not going to show up, with having to chase them around like cats and try to get an answer as to whether they're coming or not. So I just think, as much as I think having alternates is an excuse for members who have bad attendance to not show up, I think that it's going to be helpful in terms of the quorum, and I think that's really important. On the other hand, I think that we need to be much more conscious of being firm about people missing a certain number of meetings and being removed from the board. And I also thought that the process for that, which seemed like a whole show trial thing, was ridiculous. I mean, there's no reason that the town board has to give piddling members of a board or committee an opportunity to hire a lawyer to represent themselves. If they missed 3 meetings, they missed 3 meetings. If they have not finished the training requirements, they haven't finished the training requirements. I mean, A, it's black and white, and second of all, we're not sending them to jail. I mean, I just think that we need to be stricter if we want that to happen.
And the other reason that we need alternates too, so if we have a situation where someone has to be removed from the planning board, we have somebody who can step in until somebody else is appointed, so there's no gap. And it's not just even absence. With the planning board, there are so many items that are, have conflicts, that we have people that have to recuse themselves on some really big projects, and so you have somebody that recuse themselves, and then you have 1 or 2 absences, then you're in trouble.
So it's not uncommon for small towns to run into, you're battling 2 issues. You're battling attendance and conflicts, right? And conflicts are common in small towns. So, having alternates is very helpful. I think having them present in every meeting, I think, is helpful. Having them, the ability for them to step in under certain circumstances is also helpful. This board just needs to determine what circumstances they want them to step in on. As far as removal, they're entitled to a public hearing under town law. So if you're going to remove somebody for a cause, they're entitled to a hearing. So they're entitled to that. So
You could change the law. I mean, it just seems like an
not the
awfully
state
big-
law. I would have to.
Is that state law or
It's
town law?
Town law. Town law is a state law, not the town code.
Not the town code. Oh, you mean a state law about towns? Okay.
Town, yes, the town
Okay.
law.
All right. It just seems incredibly cumbersome, especially in a situation where this seems to happen a lot. So, I
9 times out of 10, when people are approached with the situation, and here's the requirements, attendance requirements, and here's your absences, they're not gonna, they generally step, my
Okay.
experience is people don't fight because they know they aren't able to complete their obligation.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's
Doesn't-
probably
doesn't
true.
necessarily
but
mean
it
that it's
would be
gonna result in
embarrassing.
that, but, they would be entitled to it at least.
Okay. I mean, yeah. I mean, I understand if it's a state law, then then it's a state law. But it just seemed like an awful lot of fuss over removing someone who's not met the 2 criteria for being on that board. There was another thing.
So far, I've got 2 alternates, 1 near term, conflict of interest, and we're not sure yet.
I'll get on board to make a quorum, but not for every absence.
But if they fill in, then they fill in, they will have the rights of the board member they're filling in.
They vote. in other
Mhm.
words.
Which means they
Right.
can vote.
Oh, no, well, we need that. If they're
Well,
filling
that's
in
the
for a
point,
quorum, they
yeah.
have to vote. Otherwise, there's no point in them being
So,
there.
is it for any absent, is it for vacations, is it for emergencies, illnesses?
I think they should fill in when there's an absence, so that there's always a.
Just generally when, if there's an
Yeah.
absent?
Agreed.
Okay.
I mean, it said that the chair can decide, has to have some control over that as to who steps in.
Well,
But-
the chair needs to create a process, so if you have 2 alternates, you have to create a process by which it's an automatic process, therefore the chair
Right.
is sitting there saying, I like this guy's opinion on this project, so I'm gonna appoint that guy in. as opposed to
It
that
said
guy.
it by lot, actually, was the way it was written in what you had first given us. So, I
I
think,
can create a process, but they usually have an alternate 1, and then it goes to alternate 2, and alternate 1 for some reason can't, it has a conflict, whatever it might be, then it goes back to
right,
alternate 2. There's generally a step-down process too.
okay.
So when you appoint, you're gonna appoint somebody as, ZBA alternate, ZBA alternate, and those are the positions, and then
Well, I agree, I mean, I totally agree that we need to make a change that we have two alternates. I think we need to allow them to sit at the table and to ask questions and participate. I think that only 7 people will be voting at any one time. And if we can't get a quorum, we certainly need to have someone step in. As to when they step in, when there's just, a couple of absences, we can see how it goes, which would be, I mean, if it works with just quorums. I mean, hopefully it will, and that seems to be the biggest problem. They can at least vote in that case.
So what I can do is redraft it now that we're actually limiting the number of alternates, and we got our term in here now. So I can redraft in accordance with these parameters. There were some other comments made, which I will look to incorporate as I think they make sense in the document, and then I can recirculate that to the board for review.
Okay,
Okay.
that sounds right.
One of the comments that were made, and I think we've discussed this, is the idea of video conferencing, and you said that doesn't belong in this law, that.
Yeah, video conferencing that's not germane to this law. It would be a separate issue, separate apart from what we're doing here. This law is really to create alternates and to clean up the code a little bit, because our zoning board, our planning board, are kind of, there's a couple different sections for the zoning board, which is weird, and then we have, really nothing for the planning board, so we're trying to establish some structure to that.
Okay, so anyone else have comments on that? Okay, then I guess we
Go, so.
Oh, you have to go?
Did
I'm
you
sorry.
participate in any of these last things?
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, I think you probably need to explain what the consultants are for, and the bank account stuff. So if
So-
no one has any objections, I'll move those
The
forward.
consultants, I wanted to move to an executive session because there's a number of different legal issues to that. If you can't stay for that.
Well, I mean, we could change the order if people are okay with that, but,
Well, I
I'm-
think he should certainly talk about the bank accounts and, because that's 2 seconds, I think, and then the wetland delineation, that.
Could do that too, okay.
Yeah, I think we do those two, I can handle the other thing in executive
Okay.
session,
Oh,
because
okay.
there's legal steps that need to
Yep.
put in place on that.
Okay. Are you guys okay if we move that
Yeah.
up? Okay. Sorry, I just had a dinner. It's Friday. The increase in the authorized amount for our depository accounts, at the beginning of every year, the reorg, the town board authorizes a certain amount of money up to a max that can be deposited into banks they identify. We haven't updated that in a number of years. We're bumping up against that now. And so, especially with the bond proceeds that will be coming in a couple of weeks, we just need to increase that. So Bank of Millbrook is really our main bank that we use. And we put our excess cash into New York Class. And so that's what we're asking you guys to authorize later. And I believe that the town attorney has been, is satisfied with the collateral that is being provided by those two institutions at this point.
Any questions on that? No?
Okay. And then the wetland delineation on Lavelle Road. So that is a piece of property that the church, Immaculate Conception, owns. And the wastewater committee had spoken for a good long time about seeing if that would possibly be a good location for a treatment site. And then it would still have surface distribution into the same creek that runs along between the church and it goes underneath Old 22. The church has given us permission to do that. It's really just hiring somebody to come out and that they look at where the wetlands would ultimately come, and then that information goes back to our engineer. The Water Committee has also spoken briefly about that possibly being a location for additional wells, should that be necessary. So the product of this wetland delineation, could serve two purposes if it doesn't work with that. And moving the treatment facility a little closer to us would significantly decrease the cost of the project.
And do you have an idea about cost for that?
Yes, I sent that cost along. I want to say it was $2,000. Oddly enough, it was actually less expensive than it was a year ago when we got a quote on it.
That's good.
Who knows? I mean, maybe they're not in demand. Are there any questions about?
I don't have a question, I have a statement though, or comment. So just when that's set up, if we go forward with that, make sure that you make Father O'Connor aware, because he would like to be there.
Okay, definitely. Then the only thing that I'll mention about the Mechanic Street is to give some context and timing. So about 2 years ago, then Supervisor Barodi was approached by Habitat for Humanity of Dutchess County about potential parcels that were town-owned that could work for workforce/affordable housing, and the town owns a little over, I guess it's 0.6 some odd acres on Mechanic Street there. It abuts the rail trail, and that is the parcel that had been identified. And so from then until now, Habitat for Humanity has conducted perk tests. They have hired engineers to see where a single-family house could be placed. They've made themselves comfortable that it could happen there. And at the time when they were speaking to the then supervisor, the idea was that land would just be donated. The housing board wanted to follow the example of Millerton Northeast. They did the same thing, except they used a formula of taking the assessed value times 50%, and that's what was paid for to the town by Habitat. And so we have proposed the same kind of structure for this property. The consultants that Ian will speak to you guys about in executive session, I don't think that will be significant. It will be Ian's time as well as John Andrews, because the property for Habitat's purposes needs to be subdivided and chop off the about 5,000 square feet that the state has put a parking lot, which is now also where our charging station is located. So the state put a portion of their parking lot on our land without ever getting an easement. Habitat needs that to be cut off because they can't obtain a loan with it being encumbered with this encroachment. Ian will walk you through what that process will look like, and that would be paid for through the housing trust fund that we have. So it'd be probably a couple $1,000.
So they're going to take off 5,000 square feet, which reduced the acreage to what?
I would like to move this entire conversation
I was just
into an
curious.
executive session.
Okay, so that's all I'll say, but I
I'm
wanted
just
to.
curious, it doesn't really matter, but it's not going to be 0.6, is that right?
I'm sorry, it would.
You said it was 0.6.
Well, I don't think that this number of a subdivision, Ian, is that really like so? Okay, I'll stop
All
there.
right, we'll stop.
Yeah.
Again,
I
I
mean,
would like
it's-
for the entire conversation.
We've had these conversations in the housing board, so all of that is in the minutes of the housing board too. So.
Okay, thank you. Enjoy dinner. Okay, so I just want to, as long as we've already disrupted things, recognize Deidre Houston, our representative, because she has been here a long time, but she arrived after public comment, so I'd like to give her a moment to speak. And when I say a moment, I don't mean like 30 seconds, just.
I'm actually just Deirdre Houston, Dutchess County legislator. I just came to this unicorn meeting on a Friday night because, see what was happening here in the meeting on a Friday night.
There'll be an open bar at the end if you want to stay around.
No, actually, I don't have anything to report to you because it is an off time on our meeting. We don't actually have our county meeting till Thursday of next week and then the Monday after. So I will certainly be back to report out about that. We're just going over our agendas now. But I know it's a really busy time of year for town boards and county with budget knocking at our doors. So I just came out tonight to be a resource if you need any help with anything as you do your budgets and get things going, and just wanted to come and see what happens in a meeting on a Friday night.
Thank you, yes, much obliged, and thank you for that offer.
Yes, thanks.
All right. So we did the planning board. we should talk about the zoning board, which would be a new chapter 121-59. You've received comments, I guess, from the zoning board, and from, I don't know who else, submitted comments to
I
you.
have over 60 pages of comments.
Oh, my God.
So that's before you sent me yours. So there's an enormous amount of comments on both of these laws. Both the conversation on planning board will apply exactly, I think, to this. And I think that's what this board wants. I got a clearer direction from this board where they want to go. Let me give it a crack.
And is there a reason not to combine them since most of it is the same? I mean, it just say.
They serve
planning-
completely different functions. One is statutory, one is not. One is your planning board, one is essentially the appellate body. So your ZBA and planning board, you cannot combine them.
No, I'm not talking about combining the two, the planning board and the zoning board. I'm talking about could it be one law, since most of it will be duplicated.
You have to keep them separate.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Two
You're
different
creating two
governing
different
bodies.
boards.
Yeah.
They need two different laws.
Is there any way of making them a little simpler? Like, there's a lot of things in there, like I noticed Neil had a lot of comments on some of the planning board stuff about highways and those kinds of things. I mean,
Right.
is there a way to just make them not so cumbersome?
So that's kind of funny because some of the comments a lot of the comments were, well, you need to elaborate on this. So if I make it simpler, I get yelled at for not being detailed enough. And if I do go into detail, then I get yelled at for making it too long. So what do you want?
I do know your buddy Paul Van Pont sent a link to something in ECOS that was a New York State town.
I think I know which one he's talking
Okay,
about.
so anyway,
But
he sent
there
that, I
are,
looked through that, so.
again, the law gets much simpler when you're narrowing the number of alternates. That's a big help. The way we were drafting it before was not as easy. This, I think, is easier. So, the law, we can simplify now, I think, a lot of the aspects of the law, but it's still gonna have all the training requirements and everything else, because we're gonna take one section of the law away, and then, right now you have, under your zoning code, you have your zoning board of appeals. But you have all the attendance requirements and education requirements and all these other requirements for the ZBA in a separate law somewhere else in the code. So, to me, you should put them all in one spot, nice and easy to find, very clear and concise. Do the same thing with planning, planning, and then that has all their requirements and everything. So it's
Does the stuff that's somewhere else in the code get removed at the same time?
correct. You'll
Okay.
consolidate, so your code will get cleaner and
All in the same spot.
And all in the same spot, yeah. So that was kind of what I was trying to do with the code, but we're also trying to do it for multiple alternates at the time. And that might be my mistake between the old board and this board in communicating what the goals of the two boards were. I thought we were on the same page, we were not, so I apologize for that, but we're back on track. So I'll redraft for the two, and that I think will help simplify it significantly.
Okay, and I'd recommend that go to the planning board and
We can
the,
recirculate that.
well, I wanted to check that the board was okay with that, but I think it probably makes sense to send it to the planning board and the did I say the zoning board and the planning board? Just so that they sort of see.
If
the
you want them to
evolved
see it,
document.
you can do it. My opinion, there's no requirement for it. It's not, there's no requirement to go to county, no requirement for it to go to those boards. It's up to you guys if you would like to do it. We certainly can do it. It's not a problem at all. I circulated it to the county last time. I'll probably do that again this time and get the same response from them, so.
Right. Yeah, I think I think it's important just because they serve on those boards now, and I just want them to make sure that they're comfortable with it, because if they're not,
Well,
it'll get
the
ugly.
board's choice, however they want to do it.
Everyone okay with that? Okay.
We've got time before then. I got to draft, so.
Yeah, I think. Let's see, and then the next new chapter that's proposed is for food trucks. Did people have specific comments? I mean, I guess on that too, you've had a number of responses.
Yes, there's a ton of comments on those, between the three, like I said, there's over 60 pages of comments. So I did get certain comments from the board, which are the comments that I'm gonna try to accommodate, unless there's other comments that this board saw that they want, then you gotta let me know exactly what the board wants, or otherwise I'm drafting in the dark. So,
Well, I think a lot of the Department of Health ones that I saw are irrelevant because when we, correct me if I'm wrong, but when we have them do an application, they're going to have to supply that Board of Health cert, anything else when they go to the application. So anything that the Board of Health requires doesn't need to be in our local law, correct?
correct, so if they get a permit from the county is the body of enforcing the New York State Board of Health regulations, okay?
Mhm.
So by getting the licensing from the county, they're gonna certify that they're in compliance with state law. So
Mhm.
that would have already been completed.
Because it seems to me that if we're asking for that, they have to do that, but it wouldn't be a bad idea for someone who's new at it to just have, tell them where they can get that information. I mean, just have
I mean, that's, to me, part of the licensing for them to get licensing, not for them to come here and figure
Right,
out.
we're
how
not
to
that-
go to
yeah.
town,
All right,
Right, I mean, there's certain licensing that they're gonna have to get and then come here to show we've got, like, we don't put in our zoning codes how they can get liquor licenses. It's on them to figure out how to get their liquor
Well, I
license.
think
They come
it-
to us
then-
and verify that they got
I
it.
think it just, then we should take out the stuff that is specific, stuff that one has to do for the Department of Health. If they're gonna have to provide us with a document from the Department of Health.
It's part of the application process, so.
Right.
There are
So
a
like
number
when
of different
people
items.
want in there something about sinks, that's not our concern.
It shouldn't have to be. I mean, I think that's all part of the Department of Health.
I would imagine that's covered under the Department of Health and what is or is not required with regards to sanitation on a food truck and, what their requirements are on the food truck.
So my other question is, because like right now we have the Silo Masters going on, with food trucks for them, going forward, what would be their route of getting food trucks there? Because we're limiting it to 3?
So there's 3 to a site. There's also exceptions
Would that fall under the special events?
under a special event. Yeah, so we have exceptions for special events. I can go back through, because Ken was concerned about the Harvest Festival, and so.
Right, that's another
When we
one.
went back and we did, special events, street fairs, things like that you would have to come to the board. I think you have to come to the board for approval, but it would not, you could do that. We could circle around the requirements.
And it
gives
would be a resolution?
Yeah, yep, which requires planning from these events,
But
but
was,
it should.
was it in there, though, a limit to how many days? Or was it, I feel like I remember seeing something about it limiting to days, because like here we are, the Masters have
It-
2 weekends this year.
Yeah, it would, I can clarify that for per event and then give flexibility to the board. The idea, the way
Do
I,
it per event, and then when they come to us, they would say, hey, it's these days.
correct, and
Okay.
that's how I was envisioning it when I drafted it.
Okay,
I will go back to make sure it says that.
okay.
I thought it did, but I could be wrong, so,
Another thing we had talked about too, like the Beekman Park, like if
Same kinda
baseball
concept.
wants to have
same concept.
a food truck
Yeah.
for the season.
Yep, or the music series.
Yes,
Right, so like events that are going on days and for a continual number of time, stuff like that, that's,
special permit,
yeah, that, or
special event.
yeah, it's a special event exception, so that's what,
Okay.
that's what, and I'll go back and I'll double check that aspect, because I know that that's become more and more of a concern, particularly since we're creating more festivals, so it's.
Right, and I don't want to make it harder to have these events by having all these hoops to jump through. I wanted it to kind of be simple and clean. I think the other question I had then on it was,
Well, having them come before the board, I think, is a good thing. This way, you know what's going on. You know the events that are
Right.
going on. The board has some element of control and say what's happening with these events in the town.
And that would be like, it would be like us waiving the alcohol for the concert, basically. If they were coming for a
Yes.
special event, we would have a resolution waiving
Yes,
and giving them permission to.
yes.
Because it didn't say anything specific about alcohol being served at the food trucks too, which I just thought, that typically
No,
requires a special.
A lot of the food trucks, there are becoming, dare I say, thankfully, more alcohol food trucks. So, with that, it adds a layer now, because traditionally food trucks weren't that. Now they are. You get like margarita trucks.
Yeah, you get mobile
I-
bars.
They exist. You know, so these types of events, that's why one of my last edits was that if they are serving alcohol, that it's on them to produce that
Oh, good,
licensing
okay.
for it. So that's
Right.
part of the app, it's one of the things I added to the application process. So, trying to incorporate that, but again, you know, food trucks are evolving, they're gonna change, and as they do, we may have to change this law, but right now, we're trying to get it to accommodate at least what we're doing now, so.
The other thing that struck me going through this again is, I was trying to figure out how or why there would be 3 food trucks on a residential property. I can understand them having, you know, parties and having them for specific days, but I don't really understand why there should be someone's food truck on their lawn.
So the food trucks there's kind of 2 aspects to the law with the food truck, right? You have a food truck where, you know, little Jimmy's having a party and I want some food trucks to come to the house, right? And then there's a guy who wants to set up a hot dog stand on a corner, and he's got a little plot of land, he wants to put it on there. But maybe he's got enough land, location where he wants to do 2 or 3 trucks, because that's his business. And so that's the other avenue of this. It's not just an event, it's someone setting up there for the summer. and
Well,
being
that's
on the corner.
exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, I can't imagine that that wouldn't be incredibly annoying if it was on Depot Hill, for instance, where the houses are relatively close together, and someone had 3 food trucks on their lawn. So, and there are obviously half-acre properties, wasn't that the minimum? So,
Minimum, yeah.
I just think that we have to be really careful about.
Right now, it's not in any zoning district, any residential zoning districts,
I thought it was.
no.
All right, I'll go back through it.
Was it RA?
No, I think, when we sent it to the planning board, that was really what we were really looking for them to tell us, right? Because the board didn't really have a strong opinion on that. And so the zoning board, the planning board, sorry.
Said
the
like
planning
no
board-
residential.
Yeah, they said they took it out of the residential.
Okay.
And then I think there was a recent comment taking it out of SR2. So all residential districts, nothing there, none,
Okay. And,
except, they fall into an exception.
yeah, and
So
the
that
only
would
other
come out.
thing that I mean, in terms of an exception, is that I've seen a lot of farms that have food trucks, if they're like, if they're selling alcohol, if they have food trucks, so people can. So, I mean, I think the farm thing, that can all be a special permit, but I've seen a
So
lot.
the one comment from the county that came back, which I think is largely timing, because we were, at the county, they were going through the ag district application process. So I think it was on top of
Pile.
the planning department's minds that when people, particularly farms, want to have food trucks in residential districts, so they made a comment about properties that are in the ag district. It is something that I was planning on putting into the law. The idea there is that if you have a property in the ag district, under ag and markets, there could be an argument that if you're limiting them having a food truck on their property, it might be overreaching zoning, which then could create an issue. So what the idea is now is I'll have to create some exception for that. So that's something that needs to be added, and I had planned on adding.
Great. Anyone else have comments? Okay, well, that's exciting. So the one that was added was about dealing with Empress, who will be our new supplier of emergency medical services.
Do you want me to talk on that?
Please, that would be lovely,
All right, so
as I'm running out of water.
I still got some. So Empress did acquire NDP. NDP's contract had non-assignment clauses in it, which hasn't stopped any of the acquisitions before, and it isn't doing it now. However, Empress is always obliged the contracts. So what this document that you received from Empress, because I believe their closing was today, is the town board consenting to the assignment. It basically removes the clause, the non-assignability clause, but every other aspect of that contract will remain in place and fully effective for the term of our agreement. And arguably, it's a nice test period to see the services that Empress will bring, because we will be renegotiating at the end of that term. So it's, in my opinion, the board should authorize the supervisor to execute that agreement. And that would then assign our contract to Empress, and Empress would be then providing all services as contracted with NDP.
Just one other thing I would say is that I know that Chris Kennan from Northeast, he and we and Dover have all had a contract, the same contract with NDP, and Empress didn't want to do it that way. They wanted to keep the contracts, separate contracts. But what they did say, and I don't know if you were here when I said this before, Deidre, but it seemed important, is that because they'll basically own all of Dutchess County, that it might be possible to kind of rethink county-wide how this would work, so that they can assign trucks in a way that's more efficient than it is now, and maybe change, instead of the three of us being together, it would be other towns that are closer together.
So this concept came up when we were in initial negotiations, and it was unfortunately not possible at the time, but it may be possible when we renegotiate going forward. There could be better geographic alignments between municipalities to carve up the county and get better service with better response times, with more efficient services. And it works for everyone. Services could go down, and response times can increase. But that's all going to have to be explored in detail later on. The county services come into play, and as we get more and more data from the county, that'll be interesting to see how that plays into this as well. So it's yes, there's been massive increases in the EMS services as costs have increased, but I'm hoping, or at least I'm optimistic, that I think that the services may get better for us, and those costs will level out in the future.
The other thing that, and I want people to be aware of it, just because, I think the next board is going to be dealing with this in terms of negotiating with the members. The other issue, though, with all of this is that New York State has been kind of in the process of passing a law that declares EMS an essential service, because right now there are 4 or 5 towns, or maybe more, that don't have an EMS contract. So we're basically paying. They may have their own rescue squad, but if there's more than one vehicle needed, we're sending our EMS to them. So if it was declared an essential service, every town would have to have basically the same standard. So I think that is something that that should be pursued as well.
Because it spread the cost more, is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Because it just throws everything off if some towns are paying.
Don't do it, right.
Creates holes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, well, that gets us through resolutions.
So
Amazing.
is that a motion to authorize the supervisor to execute the agreement with Empress?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thank you.
Second?
Second.
Thank you, Brad. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
And for the record, I did review that. I did review the contract and paperwork prior to. For the record.
Okay. So the consent agenda, Dawn usually,
Oh, yes. So for this evening's
Explain that.
consent agenda, looking to move resolution 116, 17, and 18, and they are as follows. introducing a local law of the town of Newbury, New York to override the tax levy limit for the fiscal year of 2026 established in General Municipal Law 3C, authorizing NY Class Municipal Corporation Agreement and the NY Class Municipal Corporation designation as an authorized depository rate for town funds, and authorizing maximum amount of town funds to be held in town accounts. Is there a motion to go ahead?
I'm sorry, the Bank of Millbrook, was that the
I'm reading
second
the
one?
names. I'm just reading the titles as they were presented.
Oh, okay.
Uh,
It is, okay, that's, just wanted to check.
So, is there a motion to go ahead and move those?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Rosanna.
I'll second.
Thanks, Nicole. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great.
Okay. Other matters. My sense is that the whole issue with street closures for the Harvest Festival are now dealt with, right? That it's being done by the county, not the.
Yes, so I was asked a couple days ago to step in on this, and was able to contact DOT, contact the sheriff, and worked out an arrangement by which, under the DOT permit, sheriff is designated to, for all traffic control and safety, security detail. As part of that will be the parking and the no parking and monitoring on that street. So what they're going to do is they will be putting signs out prior to the event at both ends of Main Street to indicate that there is no parking, certainly during the road closure, and all cars need to be removed from that site. So can't park on the road during the fest.
There was a concern raised in one of the 300 emails that, Mechanic Street could be a problem too, since we already have people getting very upset about parking there, and that's obviously the closest parking to the festival. Again, I don't know whether we can have or should have paper signs up there, just to make it clear that, I mean, I know that some of the parking is supposed to be directed, right? In terms of where it is.
Parking on Mechanic, pardon me, I'm cold. Parking on
Quite all
Mechanic,
right.
most of it is going to go into the Judge lot,
Okay,
and we don't have any plans to park along the street.
Yeah, the
If
road's gonna be shut
someone wants
down.
to, they have to do it as per the
No?
street signs.
No.
Correct. You,
Except for
I believe there's already,
emergency access.
I believe Mechanic, there are parking regulations on.
Oh,
yeah, Mechanic Street, just because. you know,
okay.
Because
people
they
take-
park there now.
right, gotcha,
That
okay.
tends to be a
The
flash point.
concern was, because I brought it up in the emails, was that with them parking there now, that's our only town road, where when the question was about resolutions, that would have been the only road that you would have to do a resolution for that day to go ahead and so that way there's no parking along it.
Mhm.
Because if emergency services is
Well, the
expected
firehouse was right there, yeah,
to be going back and forth, the concern was
yeah.
someone's gonna say, oh, let me just park here because they do it now,
Mhm.
Wednesday through Sunday. Why do I have to go all the way down to
Judges park.
Right.
the expected parking?
Which is a very valid concern. Are you saying that we need to have? we
No,
need to-
I just brought it to everybody's attention, so that I'm not, unfortunately, I'm working the next 2 weekends and I can't attend any of the meetings.
Mhm.
So when Chris and I were at the meeting and we knew this was a sensitive issue, it just kind of like anything that we come up with as emergency services, we were just pointing out to the group that, hey, this is what, you know,
Yeah.
areas of concern.
Mhm.
It was for conversational piece.
And what we also were looking for, and just to make sure this is understood, is the night before, 2 nights before, on Main Street, put out signs saying no parking Saturday.
The sheriff is going to put them out a few days before the
So,
event.
Okay,
Okay.
So Ian's actually taking care of all of that.
yes. I was going
He's
to
gone
thank
over
him.
and beyond and he's assisted
I was
the
going to
event.
thank him in other business.
So,
You'll have to wait in.
but we haven't quite dealt with Mechanic Street, I think. I mean, we could get,
I don't know what the code says currently about no parking on Mechanic Street, but if there's already no parking in those places and people are parking there, then just enforce it. But if there isn't, I don't know what,
well, I guess if we have sheriffs on site, we can enforce it, because
You don't,
normally we
doesn't work.
can't. So, okay. So they'll do
We'll
it
just use
Mechanic
the
Street.
terms.
Okay? That's all I have for other.
Here's a ticket.
Here's a ticket.
However, if there is a concern, particularly for emergency services in those areas where people are parking, then that would be certainly something the board should probably visit with regards to either amending or adding if it's there or not there, depending on what the issues are. It would be something the board should consider doing, just as a safety precaution.
Wait, are you saying for the 18th? You're saying?
No.
He's just talking about moving forward.
Okay, great.
You'll never be able to get it in time.
Got it.
Because it would require local law, so.
Okay. Any other matters or
Yes,
board comments?
actually, I just wanted to let everybody know that on October 15th, we're having a mental health event here. That doesn't sound quite right, but
Yeah, there's one here every day, actually,
there'll be
Monday through
now
Thursday.
information, brochures of where to get help, and it's a program, a mental health program, and that's on October 15th here at Town Hall, and it probably should go on the sign pretty soon. The other thing is our.
I'm sorry, do you know the time of that?
I believe it is 6 o'clock, I'd have to go back.
And that can be put on the website and the sign.
The other thing is, found out that our zip code is in a zip code where children from ages 0 to 5 can get free books from the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. They can sign up for that, and we'll figure out how we can work that out so that they can sign up for it. And they get a free book once a month sent to their home.
Great. Which reminds me, I also got an email this week about a special rate for cell phone phones or for data access from our provider, which is for people who, it's for people, I think there's an income limit, but it's a sort of less expensive than normal opportunity to, through New York State, to get cell service. So I will raise that at the next meeting with more information.
Jana, Dolly's free books, is that you gotta sign up for the library, or?
No, it's not through the library, it's through, Andrea Cucci sent that information to me, there's a poster. I'll send you the poster.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that
that'd be
seems like a
good to
good
get that
idea.
out there.
And the poster can go on the website, I believe, right? Yeah, so I will send you that poster.
Thank you.
The other thing I just want to mention is out on the table, along with the envelopes to send back expired prescriptions, also are these Terra envelopes, and with these, if you take these, you put prescriptions in it, it destroys the prescription, and you can then just toss them in the garbage. So these are also out on that table in the front hall.
And do we know how that works?
You open the envelope.
No, what's in there? I'm like really curious. All right, well, I'll read the envelope later. Okay. Anyone else? I'm sorry, no one else has comments or other matters to raise? Okay, it looks like not. So now we move to public comment on all business, 3 minutes customer. Anyone? Oh my God, everyone. But Sharon got up before the rest of you, so.
Sharon Kroger. Just very briefly, the issue of the law that you're rewriting or amending, it seems to me, having attended some of those very interesting programs that the Association of Towns has, and watched them deal with the problem-solving roles of planning boards in these work sessions. Here, I have a brief comment. I think that there's a danger with these classic problems that all towns have. Sometimes small towns have them different than large towns, but there's a problem with these classic problems that there's a tendency to reinvent the wheel when you try to write your own language, which is can get very cumbersome, so that you think you're solving a problem, but sometimes you're creating a new nest of issues that you don't realize you're creating. So my suggestion would be that along the way, while you're considering this, that you consult with the staff at the Association of Towns, and it's free to do that, and get their take on how you amend, how you solve this problem, because the problem
Sorry,
of...
you're talking about EMS?
I'm
Are
sorry?
you talking about? Oh, the planning board, I'm sorry.
It's the planning board law
Okay,
that we're
thank
talking about, adding methods to repair what you think is the problem, that there aren't enough people and they don't come, and all that classic thing. The problem is that if you amend it, even if you do something that looks like it's going to work for you, what it might do is create a nest of other variables that then would have to be solved. And those lawyers who have to do this all the time, advising all the other towns, have been through this a lot of times. So you don't want to create a new problem where there can be manipulation of participation. And that could be the lurking issue.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Nancy?
Once again, Nancy McKenzie, 60 Sheffield Road. I've been here 10 years. A couple of things that I'm getting from the meeting. One of the things that surprises me about this meeting is the lack of mention of the fact that we have urgent care here, as that came up with the EMS issue. The town doesn't seem to know that we have that with Sun River. And that brings me to a second comment, which is that I just came from the food pantry at St. Thomas Episcopal. We served last week 750 people, and we feed 750 people a week, and the town doesn't seem to even acknowledge that it exists. So I work in two areas. I work with the pantry and I work with Sun River as a volunteer, and the fact that we don't really understand Sun River's function in the town. It is an urgent care center, meaning anyone can go in there and walk in and say, I have to be treated, and they can be treated. So these are two things that I've been watching now for 10 years that never comes up and never gets talked about. So the other thing that I originally planned to say was just that I appreciated the last meeting in which the board stopped the controversy going on with people demonstrating at the corner. I appreciated the way the board handled it, and I appreciated the fact that the board has come up with decorum requirements in the meetings. So that's everything.
Okay, thank you very much. Karen Topolsky.
Thank you. Couple of things. First, some thank yous. Ian, thank you for making that so easy after giving me a headache, a stomach ache, a heartache, looking at all of these emails.
I would be remiss not to thank the sheriff as well. The sheriff was very, very helpful. The sheriff's department was very willing. After we explained the issue and the concerns, they were really fantastic to work with.
And the sheriff has been invited to the Harvest Festival, as has several other public officials. I'd like to thank Deirdre. Oh, Nancy, you're going to want to hear this.
Nancy?
Nancy, you're going to want to hear this. Not the fact that it was Deirdre, but at the Harvest Festival, we have Sun River.
Person called my name a long time.
Yo, Nancy, let's talk. At the Harvest Festival, the county is sending their mobile health van. Thank you, Deirdre, who really made that so easy. It was like 2 emails, and within 20 minutes, I saw a flurry of emails from her going out to the health department. But they're doing it in partnership with Sun River. So Sun River should put up a sign saying they are an urgent care facility for this town. Because I suspect,
The town acknowledges it and knows about it.
Well,
Well,
no
for
back and
now-
forth, number one.
right,
Nancy, and, you know, you just raised the issue. If you can think of some other way to get the
Okay.
word out, let us know.
they will be there, they're welcome to announce they have urgent care facilities. This came out today, I just saw it, Main Street. And this is our ad, and I want to present it to Nicole because it was designed by Nicole's daughter.
No.
So I'll present you with.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have one for Judy as well, who did a lot of the graphics work. And now another thank you for not having the meeting last night. So those of us who wanted to observe our holy day could do that. And when you look around the world and you see horrible things happen all over the world, not just to one group, having the respect of a community, it just means so much. So thank you. Now, just a couple of other very quick things. On your media policy, I think you need to have something, a sign here saying, please note that these processes might be recorded and your likeness might be viewed on, so that I don't go home and I say, I didn't know. When I look at YouTube, they were recording me and there were 50,000 hits and now I'm suing you because I haven't granted the use of my likeness in perpetuity in all media known throughout the heretofore universe.
Okay.
All right? Then this is probably the most important thing that I want to say. I was looking at the report from the June 9th engagement for the comprehensive plan review, and in reading it, I think if you haven't read it, you better, because a lot of what you talk about has not been aligned with what the community has said. For instance, I'll just go over housing. They're not looking for single, they're looking for affordable housing for essential workers in Amenia. They are not, they're looking for rental units. They are looking for refurbishing older homes. They're looking for apartments. They are not looking for single-family housing.
Well,
That is not.
First of all, you're way over, and second of all,
Okay,
the
I'll
issue
stop it
is
there.
where there is money available to support that housing. There isn't any for apartments.
There's issues as to not opening up to Amenia first. We can have this discussion. All I'm saying is that you all need to read that comprehensive plan reaction from the community so that you're all in alignment with the community and you're not acting counter.
Sit down.
Okay.
All right, I move, oh, we have two more hands, oh my God, I'm sorry. Judy, okay, Judy, go ahead.
Okay, just want to remind people, and I will do it again, the proposal for opting in for a cannabis dispensary will be on the election ballot on November 4th. And if you do not want to allow dispensaries in this town, you will vote no. If you wish to allow them, you will vote yes. Please remember to turn it over and vote for the propositions. I want to again thank the board for signing the Sir Shorey settlement with Silo Ridge. The school board will be voting on it on Monday and moving it towards a hopefully final resolution. On the planning board and ZBA alternates, I had a complaint when you did a local law for creating new committees that the board was allowed to remove people for no reason. I didn't think that was reasonable. On the planning board and the ZBA, it says you can remove people if they miss 3 meetings, but the possibilities that you have on how to deal with that are to say, don't do that again, to give them a slap on the wrist, to give a hearing, or to do nothing. That's not okay. If somebody, you have to have, as your attorney has pointed out, some teeth to enforce the requirements to be on those boards. or else it's a joke. I look at some of the kids that are raising in our society these days, and that's what you'll wind up with. At any rate, thank you.
Okay. And George, sorry.
Hi, I'm George Bestranson. I live at 3498 Route 343 in Amenia. I just wanted to really to ask you if you had any questions about the email that I sent. I sent an email that explained that the Amenia burying ground the upkeep wasn't very good. The mowing company wasn't mowing up to the wall. They were leaving a large strip on 3 sides of weeds and saplings and stuff like that. Leo got back to me. He contacted the mowing company and sent me their response, which was a little disappointing. And so I just wanted to ask you all if you had some questions about that, and if, Leo, it might be too early to know what you think should be the next step, but if you know.
The owner of the company is out of town, so he hasn't been involved. I just got response from someone who worked there. And it was a slightly hostile response, but in any event, we're gonna probably need a tree company to deal with the stumps and the trees that are on the ground. And then I expect that our lawn company will take it from there.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say that one of the suggestions is that the Amenia Historical Society volunteer to remove this, and I think that's probably unrealistic. I'm 70, and I'm probably one of the youngest in the society, so that probably won't work. Okay, thank you for that.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I move that we close the public meeting and go in.
No.
What?
You're not closing.
Oh, we're not closing the public meeting. I'm sorry. I would like to move into executive session.
For the purpose of pending or potential litigation regarding Silo and Kent Hollow, a personnel matter, and the sale or acquisition of real property is the reasons why you're going into executive session.
Okay?
That's you moving it.
Thank you.
Second.
Nicole, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the time is 7:43.
Thank you all for coming.